In this video, we have a lot to go over, so we're going to kind of breeze through everything really quickly here, but we waited until this time to make this video just because we wanted to see where the overall futures were going to be opening up at here on Sunday night to get us a better gauge of where we're going to be gapping down to heading into tomorrow's pre-market. So right now, your E-mini S&Ps are down around 70 handles almost. Gold's down around 90. Nat gas is actually up. You have your Qs down about 280, Russell's down 40, your VIX is actually back up to about 22, and then your Dow is down to right around 47,656. So overall, that's what we're looking at for our futures right now. So it looks like we're in gap down. So if you're going to look at your SPY ETF in here, we ended at 679 here last Friday. So expect to be closer to the 672 mark. Or perhaps a little bit lower going into tomorrow. Anything below 672, 666 is that 9-day EMA. That should hold us. If not, then it's going to be this 50-day moving average or this 652, whichever one of these do come first. We have a big week coming up in here, obviously, because of the news that just happened this past weekend, right? So you have the trade deals or the trade talks breaking down on Saturday. You have Trump tweeting, hey, we're taking over the strait now, things like that. But also we have a start of earnings season is coming up, right? So it always starts with financials. So we got a lot of banks. And then we also have Netflix. For whatever reason, they're reporting really early this time around. So basically banks, Netflix, and then we have to worry about our overall market correlation, right? So that's what we're going to kind of fly through here. We're going to start off with actually, we're going to look at Truist in here. This is one of the worst performing stocks of the year. They are going to be reporting earnings here pre-market April 17th. You can see ever since the beginning of the year, had that nice little push in here, end of January, kind of hit a high in here of 56.20, and then boom, straight down. A little bit of recovery the past 2 weeks. So we're going to see if these earnings can push us higher. IV ranking here sitting at 62. So your options, there's not a lot of volume in here, but they are relatively juiced what is in there compared to itself, right? So we're currently trading basically right under 50. So to the upside in here, we're going to be looking at that 50.86. Anything outside of there, nice whole numbers, 51, 52, 53, working our way all the way up to 56. To the downside in here, we have the 48.33. We have that 9-day EMA sitting at 47.66. And then outside of that, it's going to be this 50-day SMA or this lower trend line of this overall structure, which is going to be trading right around that 45. So you got about a $1.50 expected move priced in by this Friday. But we do have earnings coming up. So we might get a little run into earnings. The closer we get to that, we're about 5 days away from that right now, because that's going to be Friday morning they report. So it's going to be interesting to see how Truist reacts, especially because they're going to be coming reporting earnings last, right? So maybe these other banks will kind of give us a hint or a tip of the hat in here as to what we could expect with Truist, and that'll kind of give us a better overall feel in here for this weekly chart. We're also going to take a look at Bank of America. That's also a nice big one. This one always has a lot of options volume in here. And this one, it's always going to be a low risk, low reward. I mean, we're trading in the 50s right now. It took us how long to get up to these $50 handles for Bank of America? It felt like forever. This was just a $20, $30 stock, right? So now we're in the 50s. Now we're just kind of stuck here, what it seems like. Again, kind of the same thing this year, that little pop at the end of January, then a big pullback in here. But the past 2 weeks, just like Truist, same thing, nice little rise in here. We're trading at that 52 mark. To the upside in here, we have 53.65. Anything outside of that, we're looking at the 56s. To the downside in here, $50 handle, and then you have this 9-day EMA and this 50-day all kind of meshed up right here. So we're just going to chalk all that up, and we're going to say $50. That's going to be our line in the sand here, because that's where our moving averages are basically going to be pointing to, and our lower trend line, or I guess our lower support, is what we're going to be pointing at in here is going to be that $50 handle. So that should hold some pretty good support for us in here. If not, then we're looking down here to break down right around that 48, and then eventually down here at the 47, which is the lower trend line of our overall structure. Now, earnings for Bank of America, they're going to report pre-market on Wednesday. So you got about a 2-day head start in here on Truist. So perhaps we could get a better feel for what is going on just kind of in the overall financial world and things like that as we're looking at all of these banks reporting earnings. As far as Netflix goes, because that's kind of our one-off this week, right? So this thing, it could perhaps, depending on what happens with financials and things like that, and maybe everybody starts to kind of move into other tech or things like that, Netflix could end up saving us, right? So perhaps the first few days of earnings is not quite the greatest for us in here this coming week. So everybody kind of starts to do the rotation, right? They're kind of come out, and then they're going to start to kind of explore different varieties of things, right? So they'll go to healthcare, energy, but it looks like the not safe haven, but once the safe havens kind of disappear, you need to start going into tech, because then you have a lot of volatility in there. So perhaps Netflix, if we do get some good earnings in here, perhaps that'll show a larger rotation into the overall tech as we start setting up going into these bigger, high volume, bigger market cap stocks overall, as we basically kind of start doing the whole rotation thing, depending on what the overall market's doing, I guess, with the Strait and everything in the Middle East. But as far as we're looking at in here for Netflix, you have right around a $7 expected move being priced in on the week. After market, April 16th is when we're going to get an earnings report in here. Obviously, this thing is super liquid. You can kind of get out, you can get in and out, you can do whatever you want in here. So kind of take that into consideration as you're looking at all these and you're watching the overall net flow and things like that. We're trading at 103 right now to the upside in here. We're looking at 105.80. You have that 50-day SMA trading at 108. You also have that upper trend line trading right around those 110s. That's going to be an area for resistance to the downside in here. 100s, anything outside of that, the 9-day EMA trading at 95, and then anything below there, it's not really, nothing's really going to save us until you get down here to right around that 83 mark again. So that's what we're looking at in here. All in all, nice big jump in here in March, because remember when we were making these videos at the end of last year going into the beginning of this year, it just felt like every week we were saying, oh, okay, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. And then finally, we had a green week in here, right? And that's when we got our little pop and things like that. So good news going forward. It looks like we are holding, and this has been a nice true move in here, but obviously earnings could change all of that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens overall in the overall markets as we continue, or as we start this new earnings season. We're also going to take a look at TLT since we are here. I know we just did a video on this just last Thursday, but it's always good to kind of keep in mind where we could be at as far as tomorrow. We have this 50-day SMA up here that's trading at that 87 level. To the downside in here, we're looking at right around 85.77. So those are going to be our two key marks in here on the week. We're just going to watch those. Anything outside of there, we're going to let the market dictate things, but those are going to be our two main areas of concern in here. And depending on how much of a gap down we get, which it looks like it's going to be right around a 70-point gap down for our E-minis, look for bonds to kind of roll with the E-minis, since that's what it looks like we've been doing, but also we're going to get a little bit of positive drift in here. So if we do get a pullback on our bonds, don't expect it to be that crazy, that violent, just like the E-minis, but also don't expect a pure inverse correlation. It looks like this thing is it wants to do the normal inverse correlation, but it also is going to have a little bit of a pressure coming from the E-minis and the Qs and things like that to kind of follow the trend in here. So that's what we're looking at in the overall market. Again, financials reporting, they're starting that new earnings season this week. We're going to see what happens. Keep in mind of what is going on with the overall markets, I guess the overall economic world, geopolitical things like that, as we are playing these earnings, because that could also have a lot to do with everything, but it also could set us up for better overall setups and better entry points as we're playing these financials into earnings. So overall, that's what we're kind of looking at in here. We'll see what happens. I'm expecting another volatile, crazy week in here, especially with our VIX kind of back up into those low 20s. Let's see how much higher it's going to climb up, and then we will go and play this thing accordingly. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you are interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.